the food, wow, it's really great.
Mediterranean food.
Girl, I'm pregnant, so like I can get away with it, but if I wasn't, I would look pregnant.
How would you describe this effect?
It transports me out of a moment into another place and creates another energy. In a more modern society, we've lost something fundamental within us.
Especially your voice is therapy, I think, for me.
My most natural instinct and my first instinct is to go to music. This is a disco kid for sure. Grooving to the funk music outside.
And being deeply influenced by.
There's times when I really love Led Zeppelin. There's times when I'm really into Radiohead.
Aysun Öz'e Başka Şeyler'den merhabalar. Bugün Antalya'da Akra Caz Festivali'ndeyiz. Akdeniz'in en eğlenceli festivallerinden bir tanesi ve şu an yanımda dün akşam muhteşem bir konser dinlediğimiz sevgili Melody Gardot var. Antalya'da Akra Caz Festivali'nde dün gece herkesi mest etti ve bugün de sağ olsun kendisi vakit ayırdı ve röportaj isteğimizi de kabul etti. Hızlıca ben sorularıma tabii yakalamışken başlamak istiyorum. Last night your concert was wonderful. Unforgettable. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Many fans in Turkey as well as over the world. How do you feel about being in Turkey and especially in Akra Caz Festival?
This festival was amazing. So this is my first time in Antalya and my first time seeing the beauty of this place. We've been before to Istanbul but never here. And everything from the view to the feeling, the people, there's such a big love here. And I felt really honored to be able to participate. In fact, I don't want to leave. So you're going to have a hard time kicking me out. But it was a lovely time, and I feel honored to be able to travel. Music is such an incredible thing. If you think about it, you know, I don't speak Turkish, but we're able to come here and do music in a language that is our own, in English and French, Portuguese, etc. It makes me just want to learn a little more Turkish so I can come back and maybe do something a bit better to embrace the culture a little more. But being here is really, really wonderful. And being able to experience not only the culture as a kind of a light touch just by observing, but the food, wow. It's really great.
Mediterranean food.
Girl, I'm pregnant, so like I can get away with it, but if I wasn't, I would look pregnant. I would be eating so much. Yeah, it's so good.
What does it feel like to be on stage while pregnant? How is it different? Does the baby have influence on your songwriting?
Well, the biggest difference is that it is a heck of a lot harder to rock these heels when you're weighing as much as you do, because there's just this different center point for gravity, you know. That's a little funky, but no, it actually feels great. The baby seems to be happy around music, so I can feel there's some movement. It's kind of like it's dancing inside. And songwriting, I think, will probably be more of a declic once I'm seeing it, you know. So in the meantime, I'm still singing and still writing. But I can feel that I kind of need to see this little creature before me to write a song a bit for them. The same thing happened when I was writing If the Stars Were Mine. I wrote this song for a producer's child when his child was born, because I thought about all the different kinds of love that you can have and thinking of a love for a child. So once I can get my head around that, I'm sure there'll be some things to come.
Your voice and the way you interpret songs make one feel transported to another place. To what do you attribute this? How would you describe this effect?
That's very kind. I feel transported. I think that musicians and writers wear conduits to things, and a lot of people talk about it that way, so it's not an original thought, but it's an obvious one for those of us who are willing to just speak openly. You don't wake up and determine what's going to happen at the end of a day in terms of a song. You go through this experience of life, and then this thing kind of comes to you, and you feel as though you need to capture it, you know, like a Bluetooth a little bit, or like an antenna. So there's different moments in our lives where when we're open and we're willing to accept information like that and work as a conduit, then songs come through. composition is funny because you can spend hours banging your head against a table, so to speak, and trying to create something, and it'll never happen. And then suddenly, within 3 to 5 minutes, you'll have a reaction to an event in life, and you'll feel transported. So perhaps what you're experiencing is also the same way that music has entered my life. It transports me out of a moment into another place and creates another energy.
Les étoiles, les étoiles, les étoiles. Dites-moi étoiles, pourquoi je vous regarde? Les étoiles, les étoiles, les étoiles. Dites-moi étoile qui vous regardera.
I'd like to ask about the healing power of art. These days, doctors even prescribe visiting museum or listening to music. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this is fantastic. Where they're prescribing that
Yes,
people
yes,
listen here in
yes.
Turkey?
Turkey and other country.
Okay, in what kind of...
I read in newspaper maybe 10 days ago, maybe BBC or Guardian.
What are they prescribing in terms of music? Which kind of music?
Maybe classic music or jazz.
So
Yes.
I'm guessing this is for different conditions like stress and anxiety. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, listening to music creates a wonderful outlet for us. I think we need it. It's the soundtrack to our lives. If you think about it, everything from marriages to funerals, there's always a song. The most pivotal moment in a movie is always encastrated in some kind of a song, whether it's the opening or the pinnacle in the middle. Music it's a part of our human expression. And from a therapeutic point of view, I think it's wonderful that people are starting to acknowledge that on a more global front, just because it's great therapy. There's many outlets like that. Art in itself, it's funny you mention museums, because whether it's art or dance or theater or singing or playing, all of these things help a human being feel human. And I think maybe now in a more modern society, we've lost something fundamental within us where that was a part of our culture. Look at Rome, for instance. You know, Rome was about theater, it was about art, it was about decadence, sometimes hedonism. But it was a culture that really expressed, and even though the culture itself, they say, has fallen, you can't look at any society and not find a recognition of who they are without looking at, for instance, how they dance. Mm-hmm. Dance is like the biggest definition of where a culture is coming from. So what is the dance, you know? And that is associated also with music. And I think we as beings need to express ourselves through these modalities and through these particular forms, because without it, it's just words. And words are boring.
Yes. I think especially your voice is therapy, I think, for me.
That's wonderful. It feels like that for me too. Every time I've had a moment in my life that I don't know how to process or recover from, I think my most natural instinct and my first instinct is to go to music. A lot of people will call up their friends or their family, and I have a tendency to close and shut the door and sit with that thought and write something. So that's really cool that it reaches you the same way. It's self-soothing in a way. It's very strange to be a musician, because when you create from a place of that kind of necessity, you don't think about how it's going to affect someone else. You think about how you feel in that moment. So is there a song, you said it's like therapy, is there a song that you like or that has reached you?
Yeah, especially jazz and classic music, my favorite therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And next question about jazz. What do you think about current state of jazz? It seems that as in many fields, we are in a period of more cross-genre transitions. How do you feel about this?
I think this is important. I think music is one of the only things in the world that you do not need a passport to travel to. You don't have borders. And the fact that now we have this I don't know what you would call it, interweb connection. Like in the 70s, I would imagine it was very difficult to get an import or an export of a record. You know, you needed to know somebody who was flying or traveling or whatever to find out about different musicians. But now it's just the click of a button and you can listen to anything anywhere in the entire world, which is really cool. I think that's going to create a different kind of a thought process for musicians, a different kind of a borderless world where, in fact, maybe we need to fight harder to maintain the integrity of an older culture. So I think of Portugal and Fado and how there's a controversy because if you modernize the genre, suddenly you're abandoning the roots. And where is the line of where tradition is maintained and also adapted? Flamenco in Spain could be the same. You need to find the balance between maintaining the integrity of historical reverence for something that is a mark of a culture and also be willing to extend into a sense of modernism as one would, you know, regard Renaissance, classical and modern art. So there's places for everything. I think now, however, with those people who are not kind of the archaeologists and those who are the guardians of, you know, past times and past forms of music, the younger generations can come through and take all of this information to feel much more limitless. And I think we're seeing that now. I think we're seeing that in music. Music is music, you know. We have the opportunity to collaborate and perform with many different people. And if I had, for instance, the opportunity to stay longer in Turkey, I'm sure that I'd be collaborating with Turkish artists without even a hesitation, because it's wonderful, you know. It's wonderful to be able to try something new and go into a place that could be challenging, learning a new language, learning a new style, learning a new rhythm. Myself personally, I work with musicians from all over the world, so I love the challenge of having to think differently. Just in terms of rhythm, we have a percussionist, 7th generation percussionist named Jorge Bezerra. And it's funny because when you're talking about a groove, the groove for America is 1 and 3, but the groove for Brazilian is 2 and 4. So where we say is the big beat is like 1, 2, 3, you know, but for Brazilian, it's the other side. And it can be quite confusing at first. And when we first started working together, all of us kind of gringos, you know, from the north, we had to learn a different way of understanding and become adaptable. But adaptability, I think, is the key to anything in life. That's what longevity is about. You must be adaptable. And in music, it's the same.
Yeah. Do you listen any musicians or bands from Turkey?
Oh, not anybody particular that I could mention to you, no. I think I'm more obsessed with the food, to be honest with you. But I was so excited to discover people here, and that was the coolest thing. So after every show, there's a kind of a jam, and it was great to see some of the guys who were here, and also discover some of the acts that came by. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be here, but there's an incredible group that's coming at the end of the festival, and I got to discover them a little bit digitally. But no, I am embarrassed to say I have much more to learn.
Are there any new projects you are planning to share with your listeners soon?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm doing some collaborations now. This is my newest collaboration, which is good. It's a big one. Yeah, we're gonna call it Baby Bebop. Yeah, this is the big one. But we have a tour coming up now, and oh, you're moving around a lot.
Oh,
it's getting to the point where I'm wondering when I'm gonna see it move. I think it's the bass frequencies, but yeah, it's doing a lot right now. Okay, dude, you're grooving in there. It's a disco party in there all day. Like as soon as I want to sit down and relax, it's like, we're gonna party like it's 19. He's just doing his thing in there. This is a disco kid for sure. Grooving to the funk music outside. But no, yeah, so this is my biggest collaboration at the moment. But we have a tour coming up, and this was the first time that I got to be on stage really with Babes. And I think we are going now to do a little regional tour in France, and then I have 8 nights at the Olympia in Paris, which is just crazy residency. So I'm excited about that. I'm a little bummed that I can't continue because it would be great to do more, but you kind of have to stop at a point. Like you're not allowed. I was ready to go. I was like, it's cool, we'll be fine. I'm ready to just watermelon my way out there, you know? But no, we'll have to take a little break. So working on a new record, collaborating with other artists, and just staying open, you know, all new possibilities.
Which musicians have helped you grow or expand your perspective in your musical journey, and those you have listened to and been deeply influenced by?
It's the bass. Okay. Oh, you know, music has always been a part of my life. I think genre doesn't really apply. There's just moments when we go through different listening phases. Like, there's times when I really love Led Zeppelin. There's times when I'm really into Radiohead. There's times when I'm just into Duke Ellington and Ella Fitzgerald. There's times when I want to listen to blues and just old records, obscure records, because that's the mood that I'm in. Bessie Smith, like, and at the same time, I also love classical music, and so I could spend a week listening to Chopin or Dvorak or Tchaikovsky, you know. I don't think there's any moment when I'm not interested in music, but for creation, it changes. Sometimes on the records we've made, I'm influenced by Brazilian music, Afro samba, etc. The father of the gentleman I performed with yesterday, his name is Baden Powell, and Philippe, of course, being his son, his father influenced a lot of things in terms of how I think about music and feel music, you know. But yeah, there isn't one person. I'm so sorry. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I think all things have been influential over the last few years. In terms of composition, I love big bands. I love being able to imagine, you know, a big swinging brass section. In terms of strings, there's wonderful arrangements. There's a great record actually that came out that I love recently, which is by Bocante, and it's called What Heat. I don't know if you've heard this record. Came out a couple years back, and it's just killer. It's with the Metropole Orchestra. This record's off the chain. But yeah, there's Miles Davis, there's Mingus, there's so many things. I think that I'm too old now to have only one reference, because it keeps changing.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I hope so. See you next year in maybe Akra Caz, maybe Istanbul Jazz Festival.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you very much. We'll have a little baby in tow.
Oh, I hope so. İnşallah.
Yeah, I hope so.
Evet, sevgili Melody Gardot'la bu sıcak sohbetimizi izlediniz. Biz Akra Caz'da röportajlarımıza ve konserleri dinlemeye, tabii ki jam session'ları da dinlemeye devam edeceğiz. Şimdilik Akra Caz'dan sevgiler. Beğenmeyi, abone olmayı, yorum yapmayı unutmayın. Bir dahaki röportajda görüşmek üzere.